Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my SHIRE guide. When played right, SHIRE is one of the most rotation heavy maps in Heroes of the Storm. What this means is that there are both the means and the need or value for players to abandon their allocated lane and go into another to get some sort of business done. When I do map guides, I would like to split things up in a number of important topics. Number 1, map objective strength. 2, map speed. 3, the early game importance. Then, hobbies or things to do, different things to do. 5, common mistakes on that map. 6, how to win games on this map. 7, how to draft on the map, namely solo laner and 3-man or 4-man. And finally, number 8, I'm going to give you my top 3 picks for the various different things that need to be done on this map. In a game of Heroes of the Storm on SHIRE, you need to gain occupation of the Sun Shrine in the north and the Moon Shrine in the south. When both are your team's color, you'll start to channel lasers to the center point where one player needs to channel the acquisition of the Dragon Knight. That hero then goes into the Dragon Knight, becomes a Dragon Knight with new abilities, namely lots of auto attack damage against structures, a flame breath and a kick that can kick one of the enemy players every once and so often. As the game goes on, the Dragon Knight goes up in health and in damage output, and it becomes a powerful sieging tool that is part of the most important win condition on this map. How do I rate the strength of this map objective? I rate it to be quite strong. It is important to get it and to deny it to your opponent. Relatively strong. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Let's talk about the map speed. Is SHIRE generally a fast or a slow map? It's relatively slow. Therefore, late game heroes can be better. We're talking about Murky, Zul'jin, Kel'Thuzad, Vala. All of these are much better in the late game than they are at level 1. So, it is okay to grab some of these in order to secure yourself a strong late game. Other strong late game heroes include Varian, Diablo or Leoric. Varian because of his banner strength, and Diablo and Leoric because they come back to life. They can be really key and clutch in a hairy situation. The best way to finish games on SHIRE are via the bottom lane and with the Dragon Knight, but the early Dragon Knights are too weak to get too much done with it. It's really the level 20 plus Dragon Knights that help you to secure a kill on the core, and therefore I do rate this map a little slower. I give it a 4 out of 10, with 1 being very slow and 10 being very fast. In Heroes of the Storm, many times you'll see a 5-man mid-brawl from both teams. As silly as this looks like, it actually serves a purpose. The middle waves arrive first on every map, including on SHIRE. And because of this, if you go in with your 5 in full strength and you clear the wave faster, you're then allowed to send 4 of your players bottom lane faster and 1 of your solo laners top faster. You then are said to be controlling the rotational speed. You can set traps in the bushes that lead from middle to bottom. And you can also choose to split differently, because enemy has no vision of you as the minions are dead in the mid wave. You do have vision of them because your minions are still alive. Clearing faster, whether or not you get any player kills in that 5-man mid-brawl, has a significant advantage. You could choose to send some of the players top to gank the solo laner that is rotating top belatedly. If the enemy solo laner is already top, your 5 mid has a chance to get a pick off, a kill, on one of the forward players in the middle lane. That's why you often see the 5-man mid-brawl. Of course, it is not always applied perfectly, but this is why it happens. The early game importance of SHIRE is fairly high. On SHIRE, if you get that early lead, there are so many different hobbies to do, namely 2 siege camps, 3 bruiser camps, 2 objectives you need to channel top and bottom, and 1 that you need to channel in the center. And then you of course have the general lane clearing that is important, killing the enemy minions, as well as doing vanilla pushes. Pushes unsupported by Siege Camp, Bruiser Camp or the Dragon Knight map objective itself. With all these different hobbies to do, it is really crucial not to lose any players, not to die as a team, as that can set you behind and you'd be left to clear a never-ending tag team of clearing lanes, mercs and whatnot, and you'll always be behind, and there'll always be the double laser pressure where the opponent can get the Dragon Knight. Try to draft a team that does have some late game power, but it definitely doesn't have to dodge team fights the whole time and that is weak at level 1. If you think of yourself with your 4-man team to go into the middle triangle, Bermuda Triangle bushes, and you think of the opponent's 4-man doing the same, and you don't think that you can win that fight, you've probably drafted wrong on Dragonshire. Azmodan, for instance, if you go Azmodan Johanna on Dragonshire, you cannot really fight and get a pick off in that Bermuda Triangle, and therefore you will always be left to do the comeback on this map rather than the strong early start. And sometimes games do just snowball, so keep that in mind when drafting. Let's talk about some common mistakes that people make on Dragonshire besides drafting wrongly, which we'll talk about later. When you are channeling the Sun and the Moon Shrine, but then you feel forced to aggressively attempt to capture the Dragon Knight. I like to see the lasers as an option and a forced move on the opponent. When you have the top and the bottom shrine, the enemy team needs to do one of 3 things. They need to zone and protect the middle point, where you have the potential to send a player to grab the Dragon Knight, or they need to take back the Moon Shrine in the south side immediately, or they need to take back the Sun Shrine in the north immediately. And usually they need to do more than one thing at the same time. Stop you from taking the Dragon Knight if you move for it, and take one of the temples back, one of the shrines back. Because of this, the opponent is necessarily split 1-1-3, 1-4, 1-0-4, 5-0-0, 0-5-0, and so on. Usually they're split. If they're 0-5-0, the worst thing you can do is to try and get the Dragon Knight. You have the freedom to go anywhere you want, as the opponent is 5-man defending mid. For you then to go 5-man mid, you're giving a neutral team fight to an enemy team that is ready to 5-on-5 you. You take the 5-on-5 and whoever wins picks up the pieces. If you win, you get the Dragon Knight, it's fantastic. But if you lose, you don't get the Dragon Knight, they get to take back the temples and probably they get the Dragon Knight. So then why did you feel forced to fight while they were 5 mid? You could have had 3-lane soak going on at the same time. You could have pushed in another lane. You could have tried to gank someone that gets bored of being mid 5, as you are not taking the 5-on-5 fight mid. So it is an option, it is a liberty to get the double laser shrine. After you get the double laser shrine, you can actually choose to take your bruiser camp, then your siege camp, then the neutral south side bruiser camp, and create an unstoppable force on the map, painting the map blue as the opponent is trying to zone you out from getting the Dragon Knight. You can also set a trap. You can split 1-0-4. You show or you don't show. Your opponent is all mid and trying to defend you from getting the Dragon Knight, and eventually they send someone to grab one of the lasers to alleviate pressure right into your trap with 4 players waiting there. One of the most common mistakes, therefore, is to try and force capture the Dragon Knight. The Dragon Knight is a spoil of war that goes to the victor. First, make sure you are the victor by using the forced enemy movement of trying to defend the Dragon Knight in your advantage. The common mistake number 2 on Dragonshire: trying to force capture both shrines. You only need one of them to have the enemy dreams of the objective go nowhere. If you're always in control of top shrine because your solo lane is doing a better job than theirs, you don't need to forcibly capture the bottom shrine. Even if you were to do it, whether you die for it or not, you still need to go through the whole rigmarole of capturing the Dragon Knight in the center. And if the opponent has stalling mechanics like Tyrande Sentinel Owl, Junkrat Tire, Concussive and whatnot, you still are no further than you were. The lasers themselves are just a means to an end, but that end is quite far away. If you have one of the shrines, make sure you make decisions that are still sensible from a PvP teamfight perspective. Mistake number 3 is to let the opponent grab the Dragon Knight to steal it, sneak away with it in even-handed situations. You're not behind on the map, lane clear is even, you have people generally spread across the map, and they happen to momentarily get control of both shrines, and you're accidentally positioned 1-0-4, with your 4 in the bottom lane not gaining control of the bottom shrine quickly enough to stop the bottom 3 from holding it long enough. And they happen to have someone center, they just grab the Dragon Knight, and it's a lol that just happened moment. Make sure that if you're unable to get both of the shrines, or either one of them quickly enough, that you've got someone mid to soak, scout, and stop enemy Dragon Knight captures. A common mistake Number 4. Running the Dragonite straight into the meat grinder bulldozer of an enemy team that is exceptionally well suited to dealing with a Dragonite, such as Taika's minigun, Kharazim's 7-sided strike. Although these do not do a full true percentage of damage like they do against heroes into the Dragonite, it's still a lot more damage than normally. Then there's also insanely good auto attackers like Zul'jin. Not only will he clear the Dragonite very quickly, but in fact you're making him very happy, giving him so many stacks of his auto attack quest. The Dragonite is a tool of nuance. While it has big damage into buildings, it should be used to force an unreasonable, disproportionate response to it. For example, you can put your solo laner in the Dragonite, who then goes to the top lane. You attack the top fort with the Dragonite, and you count how many people go to defend it. Generally speaking, one enemy player is not enough to defend the Dragonite. Therefore, they will send 2 or more. That means you've created a power imbalance in the other lanes on the map. You can then go with the other 4 members and go to the bottom lane in a 1-0-4 split. Either one of those lanes is going to get push value, and that's how you guarantee a value. If you group together with the Dragonite and you do a 5-man push somewhere, it's like a 5-on-5 team fight that the enemy can take, and the Dragonite is not always equally good at team fighting and PvP as the hero that is inside of it may be. One popular defensive strategy is to stop a 5-man Dragonite squad by simply ignoring the Dragonite, diving past it, and hard engaging on the enemy healer or backline ranged assassin. Therefore, aggressively use the Dragonite wisely. Don't head ram it into a Taika Zul'jin comp waiting behind the wall. Create a power imbalance and split away from it, making sure you get guaranteed value at least somewhere. Because Shire is a relatively slow map with a lot of different hobbies like different camps, the objective, forced splitting situations and rotational importance, one of the most common mistakes is where you look for a team fight when you're equal in numbers, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, equal in talents, but you have an advantageous map situation. For example, you have the double laser channel, or you've got camps pushing everywhere, and then to take a 5-on-5 is the quickest way for the enemy team to deal with your team and then gain breathing room, a reprieve, and is able to then clear the various lanes without the threat of a massive push from you. Anytime you have an advantageous map situation, watch the minimap, check your opponent's movement, and create a power superiority somewhere where it makes sense. How to win Shire games? What is the win condition? The most classical win condition on Shire is to be level 20 plus, preferably the opponent is not, gain the Dragonite and use it, don't lose it too quickly but wait for a wave or a siege camp, you go via bottom lane, eventually the fort was cleared in the bottom lane, then the keep, and then when the fort and the keep are gone, you take the Dragonite, you go for the core, and you try to kill it. Bottom lane is best. There's the most amount of space around the core from the bottom side, where you can maneuver, dodge the core's defensive mechanic, dodge enemy skill shots, and stay away from auxiliary keeps. Through the center, you've got the keep blocker that makes it hard to move around. You're forced into the core, and you are at risk of sidestepping enemy skill shots into the top keep or the bottom keep. Let's almost not even talk about trying to end via only top keep down. Going over the bridge of Khazad-dûm, where you must answer me these questions 3 here the other side, you see, and you'll take so much skill shot damage, is an arduous task indeed. Bottom lane is the best. You've got the siege camps there to aid your attack as well, so anytime you have a choice to take down a fort and a keep, think about it carefully. Are you looking to build on the win condition? And it's Dragonites at past level 20 that typically are strong enough to take down a fort or a keep, but they're only strong enough to also win the game with it, a level 20 Dragonite, that is, if you get a pick off as you go for the core. Or if you have loads of catapults and siege camp pressure already. Or you have a big level lead, 20 versus 18, 20 versus 17. If you're looking to just face ram the Dragonite into the core, even though the opponent is full team fighting or unloading damage on the Dragonite, it's a DK level 24 plus that typically is strong enough to do that. Keep that in mind as you try to finish. I've told you how you can finish games on Dragonshire, that they are best via the bottom lane, but it doesn't mean you always need to prioritize killing the bottom fort first. Let's talk about the value of clearing top fort, mid fort and bottom fort, and then you can think about which one would be wisest to take down first. You don't always get a choice. Sometimes the enemy's movement and defensive tendencies make it most appealing to take down the top fort first or the mid. It's all depending on who is alive, where they are defending. But let's talk about the value. Clearing the top lane structures gives your team the ability to gank the solo lane. You take away the safe haven of the solo laner. And when you look at the map layout, you can see that there is a roundedness to the top lane. It makes it the most long walking distance, the top lane, as the minions walk. Minion waves arrive the latest there as well. It also means that the center point above the Dragon Knight capture location is a beeline into the cutoff point of the solo laner. You can see that here. This means that taking down the top fort, its walls, its fountain, the healing fountain and the fort means that the solo laner loses their safe haven retreat from the top shrine. And that gives you a lot of map control, and that offers a lot of uncertainty into the enemy team. It becomes a lot more arduous for them to be anywhere there. Number 2, clearing the mid lane structures is typically for vision and rotational freedom. Not only do your catapult minions make sure that your minion waves clear mid minion waves of the enemy team more easily and more quickly, it also means that you get vision of the mid lane. That means that rotating via the dragon center or even rotating via the enemy bruiser camp becomes something that is fraught with a little bit more risk for the enemy team. Take down the mid fort when you're looking to take away the safe haven of people that poke to stop you from getting the Dragon Knight. And its power is vision and rotational freedom. Finally, the bottom lane structures are the most direct contribution to eventual victory. You can't do a proper game of Dragonshire without a proper solo laner. Therefore, let's talk about the requirements for a good solo laner. Safety comes first. Think of things like vision tools to check bushes, like Rexar's Flare or Rexar's Misha. Dismounting enemies while running. Mobility. Anti-enemy mobility to aid your team to gank the enemy solo laner. We're talking about crowd control, stuns, roots and slows. What's also useful is teleportation. Grabbing the Dragon Knight for the enemy team is sometimes down to whether you can teleport onto the top shrine quickly enough, or if you are on it, to teleport away quickly enough so that you don't get ganked. Therefore, a Tyrael, a Yrel, a Hager are great picks for being able to stand on the point and get away safely. And there's many other picks. Rexar, of course, reigns quite supreme on this map. Chen, Samuro, Dahaka, Malthael, Diva, and even Sonya to a degree are all mighty fine top laners on Dragonshire. Are there some others that you like to pick here that work well? Let me know in the comments below. The secondary set of properties that are good for a solo laner are good dueling properties. Having no or limited mana pressure, being a mana friendly hero, good wave clearing capabilities, as you'll sometimes be left to your own devices, not just to clear waves or even multiple waves, but also the bruiser camp from the enemy side. If you take a long time to clear this because, for instance, you are Thrall or Artanis, then that can mean that the enemy solo laner is allowed to capture the temple, the shrine, and is then allowed to rotate without your knowledge to the center lane, clear that and come back up again before you're done. So good clearing is quite important. Next, besides being able to do all those things and being able to contest the shrine, if you're a proper duo laner, you'll be able to do that very thing. Clear bruisers quickly, clear waves, go mid, clear that wave as well, and allow your 4-man to fully focus on the bottom lane. Good duo laners include Zul, Diva, Leoric, Malthael, Dahaka, Hager, Blaze, Sonya, Ragnaros, Yrel, the Lost Vikings, Rexar, Murky, and Q build Zeratul. Though not all of those heroes necessarily are very good at winning the one-on-one. For instance, Murky and Zeratul won't have an easy time to capture and hold the top shrine, so keep those aspects in mind as well. Especially in the lower leagues, sometimes people think of certain heroes as solo laners, but those are actually really bad at it in general, and especially on this map. Some of those picks include Sylvanas, Zagara, Azmodan and Raynor. Some of them have an escape, some of them have heal, and some of them have good wave clear, but they're not very good at holding the top shrine or escaping from ganks or healing themselves. Let's talk about drafting for the 4-man. Most importantly, have kill power. You're theoretically going to have a tough time confirming early kills when you run Johanna, Raynor, Alexstrasza and Junkrat, even if it looks like a fairly okay and balanced draft normally that ticks all the standard boxes of heal, frontline and damage. You have one person that is required to be able to clear mid, one person that is required to clear bot. The game usually devolves in 4 bot, no 1 mid, but that's actually not super effective. If the enemy 4-man lacks push power, you can hold off 4 enemy players bot with 1 or 2 people behind the gate. For instance, a Junkrat or a Chromie do this job very well. And you focus on killing the minions and utilizing the towers to shoot at the enemy players. You can then take 2 to 3 people to do the other hobbies on the map, such as taking camps, ganking top, counter pushing top, or you can bring your solo laner to collapse for a 5v4 anywhere. Again, it's important that you've got the early game tools. Depending on your team's playstyle and draft, here are some examples of good team laners for the 4-man. Varian. Varian is so survivable with taunt build. You can stand on the shrines for a very long time and survive. It also gives your team the advantage from level 4 to 9, where you get taunt before the enemy team gets their big heroic at level 10. Anubarak. While not being as good at mindless 4-on-4 bashing skirmishes, Anubarak excels in ganking top lane and controlling rotations when your team has better clear and the enemy mistakenly tries to rotate as 4 from mid to bottom via the center. Johanna, while not having as much kill power, is a safe, good wave clear enabler. Bringing the minions together allows some heroes like Junkrat to DPS the whole minion wave instantly at the same time. It also helps to set up for Azmodan, for instance, to clear easier, or Kael'thas. Having additional engage is key here, so you don't want to run only Johanna, you also want to have, for instance, a Kerrigan, Alarak, Jaina, Hager, Muradin, Imperius, Rexxar, Uther or Brightwing to help out with a little bit of extra CC and kill power. Mei, like Johanna, but has a better engage early. Escape trouble button on a higher cooldown, but is more aggressive, whereas Johanna is more defensive. Good DPS include Hanzo, as there are many bushes that people rotate past with walls that you can use for scatter. Junkrat is one of the top picks on this map, as he can hold bottom lane almost indefinitely, putting concussives and traps in the bush of the bottom shrine. He can wave clear and stop siege camps from taking down his walls. He can hold off 1, 2 or 3 people from attacking bot lane, freeing you up with 3 rotational players that can go mid, top, stay bot or take camps. Cassia, Tychus, Falstad, Genji and Zeratul are also all really good on Dragonshire. Because the solo lane is so important, having a Genji, a Falstad, a Brightwing or a Zeratul to gank top is incredibly valuable. It can turn a honorable 1-on-1 into an advantageous 2v1 where you kill top, gain a lot of XP advantage and channel the shrine so that you can get the Dragonite or gain freedom somewhere else on the map. Let's end on a few extra tips and then I'll send you off to dominate on Dragonshire. Channeling and capturing the Dragonite is slightly faster than it takes to flip a 50% shrine to 100% or a 0% shrine to 50% blue-red. So make sure to show up early to prevent the Dragonite capture. One of the common ways to come back on this map when you're down a player or you're down in levels or talents and the opponent is trying to get the Dragonite is to send an escapable player to go capture and sneak away one of the shrines. They will then usually not send all 5 to take it back because they only see the one player. You then set the rest of your team to have a trap For the person that comes to steal the shrine back so that they can still get the Dragonite. They may still have someone waiting mid to get the DK as things are sorted out. You use the 4 players you have against the 5 that they have to create a power imbalance in one of the lanes by faking out like there's only 1 player but having the other 3 waiting in the bushes. Number 2 of coming back is to play a game of cat and mouse. Snipe the top shrine with 3 players while 1 hides out of vision in the south side. Opponent sees 3 of you and responds in force. They have the double red laser channel and you're taking back top, so it makes sense for them to send 4 to 5 players top. Then your solo player in the bottom side takes the bottom, and in this way you play a game of cat and mouse. You can buy a lot of time and wait for your 5th player to respawn as you clear lanes, get XP and get closer and closer to talent equality. Here's a tip on Merc camp timings. If you notice that the enemy team has a solo laner that cannot clear bruisers quickly, heavily emphasize on spamming your bruiser camp capture that goes to the north side. However, if they have someone that clears it very easily, like Leoric, Malthael, then it is not as important and it may in fact be best to save it until the opponent tries to group up, and then you use it as a distraction. Then when they send someone to go clear it, you don't expect it to buy a lot of time or become a problem, but you use it as a forced response, and then you take your solo laner, you don't push with it, but you go with 5 players somewhere else. And now I'm gonna give you some of my top 3 picks for different achievements and goals in the game. Top 3 tanks: Stitches, Anubarak and Diablo. Diablo will find many different walls to abuse for his Shadow Charge stun, and he's tanky. Anubarak can control rotations, has a lot of crowd control and helps his team to get kills very easily. Stitches is a very tanky meat bag, and because the map is slower and Stitches is strongest post level 10 with the long range hook, the gorge, or the coming back from death quicker trade if you go bio at level 20, and he has an easy time aiming for where the Dragonite is trying to be captured, for when people rotate in and out of the bottom shrine. Stitches is one of my top picks as well. Top 3 4-man kill pressure. Tychus, for the ease with which he kills tanks like Stitches and Diablo, and basically anyone that stands still for a bit with some CC. Chromie, because she can control the bushes with time traps, slowing sands, or she can pick temporal loop from as early as level 8, and she's got lots of burst follow-up damage. She can even get vision, which is very important on this map, that can lead to more kill pressure. And then Maiev. As someone that doesn't fit in the standard roles like tank, heal or top laner, Maiev is a very powerful asset if you can play her well, because she can use playing out of vision to get very clever engage angles with her teleportation and can really get people out of position and get very easy kills on them. My top 3 solo laners are Rexxar, Yrel and Dahaka. Being able to use Misha to capture the top shrine without Rexxar even endangering himself much, as he can stand pretty much next to his own 4th wall, and having 2 bodies, he can win almost any one-on-one and be safe while doing so, and check for ganks while doing so as well. Yrel, being very hard to kill and also being able to jump over the wall of the top shrine makes her an excellent pick. Dahaka can out-heal in 2 ways. He can use Essence, he can burrow to escape, he can also do a BZ, Hearthstone, into Zing back into the top lane. Or he can clear fast, which he's very good at, and then burrow to the bottom side of the map, Brushstalker, to make a 5 versus 4. He's an absolute top pick here. For my top 3 healers, I have Brightwing for being able to teleport across the map and help the solo laner, Uther for having kill pressure in the 4-man, and Lucio for being able to control the rotations and having walls for all the relevant important hotspots on the map. Every one and so often, you'll be required to use one of your ranged assassins to defend bot safely from a distance. For my top 3 of bottom lane defenders, I picked Junkrat for his mines and traps, especially the trap build that can control the bottom shrine, and his AoE auto attack and frag launcher, Chromie, very much the same thing as Junkrat, and Tassadar, using walls at the bottom shrine or when you're fighting for bottom bruiser camp is very strong, and his wave clear is both long distance and strong. Therefore, he can deal with siege camp and waves very easily. He can also pick up Oracle at level 13 that can offer vision during very crucial decision-making parts of the map, where you need to choose your rotations well. For my top 3 mid lane soakers, which is occasionally something that may be required when you notice that 4 players are spending too much time in the bot, you are a ranged assassin and you want to head mid to clear the wave and come back to give your team an advantage, I choose Sylvanas, Li Ming and Nazeebo. Sylvanas because she has a teleportation to get away from mid lane ganks when she goes to clear the wave. She also has good wave pressure and she can choose to go possession to create a little bit of additional pressure. It's also not a disaster to be down a keep on this map. The map is slow and it's hard to finish. Having possession allows you to turn catapults into your color, which is a pretty nifty trick to be able to do so. Li Ming doesn't clear lanes the fastest, but she can choose to send her orb from above the wave or below the wave very easily on this map, as it is not a front to back map, it is a rotational and bush vision map in my opinion. Li Ming can clear the wave fairly slowly, average speed, but she also has a teleportation to get away from ganks. She's also quite good at one-on-ones, and this helps if she meets someone of her own ilk. Nazeebo is a decent wave clearer, and the reason I have him there is because although he doesn't have a teleportation, he does have CC, zombie wall, to get away. He wins a number of one-on-ones, especially in the current balance patch of September 2021, and he is required to sometimes get some bonus stacks, not to be parked in one lane in the bottom lane, but also to sometimes travel to mid and clear it. He's got the kit to have an incentive to do so, and that makes him a better player on Dragonshire, as mid lane is the most neglected most often. Your opponent gets the Dragonite and you want to kill it as easily as possible. Here are my top 3 Dragonite killers. Tychus for massive damage. Either within the rhythm or the bigger they are, Tychus can really unload and damage the Dragonite. He's also a neat pick in general, because besides being able to help kill the enemy tank, which is often a problem in drafts I've noticed, Odin becomes a map objective by itself. This is true at level 10, but it's also true at level 20 even more so. If you can't get the Dragonite, you can just march with your team, 4-man or 5-man, turn on Odin and just start shelling away. This can net you a fort wall, a keep wall, half a fort, half a keep, and eventually that can be your win condition in lieu of the Dragonite. Another one is Zul'jin. Zul'jin is very happy when a tanky Dragonite comes in and starts hammering away on your walls or forts. He gets lots of stacks from it, and not just that, he's also just really quick at killing the Dragonite. On this map, I recommend going for Eye of Zul'jin at level 13. The bonus movement speed. This allows him to chase down and get continuous auto attacks on the Dragonite when the person in the DK realizes their error, that they are stacking you, that you're killing them fast, and they want to rotate and go to a different lane. Eye of Zul'jin allows you to keep up and do a lot of damage into the DK. Similar vein is Tracer, and she's my 3rd pick. Being able to move and shoot at the same time is great. She can kill the Dragonite very quickly, starting from the very moment where it gets captured, all the way back to a fort that it chooses to go to. And not just that, when the Dragonite tries to punt you with a kick, you can do a triple blink away and bait the DK to run much farther than it wanted to give you a kick. It may even miss the kick. And then you can overextend the enemy Dragonite all the way behind your mid fort or behind your keep, making it exceedingly easy for your team to take down the DK, which is now isolated away from the rest of the team. She's a great pick here. And last but not least, my top 3 gankers on this map. Besides Brightwing, which I already mentioned as a healer, my top 3 are Falstad, Genji and Zeratul. With Falstad, you can fly behind the enemy solo laner, either on their side of the shrine in that little bush, or on their side of the lane in that little bush, and they won't even know you're coming. You just ping it to your solo laner. I'm flying in here, ping 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 on my way. They will bait in the enemy solo laner and you have an easy 2v1. Falstad has big single target damage, he has a slow, he's got the thunder strikes. Even if you miss your Q, you still can't miss the W. He's an easy way to kill the enemy solo laner and still get back in time to the other side. He's also great in the late game with the ranged mosh pit, so Falstad is a great pick. on this map. Then there's Genji and Zeratul, two of the classic ambushers and gankers. They're fast, they are great at cat and mouse, stealing shrines away when the enemy has an advantage. They can always save themselves with their escape tools. They have good kill power, and yeah, they're a little harder to play. Don't pick them if you can't play them, but they are fantastic picks on this map. Zeratul is a late game monster, and the map allows for you to go into the late game. And Genji, he's pretty much good at every phase in the game. I think he also scales up a little better in the late game, and you can definitely get there on Dragonshire. Alright guys, that was it. Hope you enjoyed my Dragonshire guide. I promised it was coming, and here it is. Let me know what else you would like to see in the future, and let me know what you thought of this guide in the comments. If you like this, please share the guide with your friends, family, strangers, people you meet in the street, at your work, and so on and so forth. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Enjoy all the content here, and good luck on your next Dragonshire game and all the other games.